Can I get a good amen in this house?
Well, this is going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a blast.
You
We
ready?
might all get fired
Might all
because
get
of it.
fired.
We might have an open coaching position and a hoping pastoring position by the time this is over.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true. Might just switch roles. That might be dangerous.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Pastor, I'm jumping
Well,
into
I'm
it.
here.
Pastor Aaron is here.
Yeah, I am. I'm here present.
Coach, probably pastor sometimes, probably a whole bunch of different hats. Mike Houston is here with us today. Thank you so much for being on the Good Amen podcast. here
Absolutely.
today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We are truly honored, and it's fun. We've been sitting here, and Coach has been ribbing Pastor
Oh,
Aaron.
ribbing me.
We
Just
got to
light me
We
up.
got to go behind the scenes a little bit.
This
so
is
some of the
him and
people-
my relationship in
That's
a
exactly
nutshell
right.
is that he's ribbing me.
That's
right.
exactly
Hey,
right.
it's a two-way street.
I
There's
can
no
imagine.
doubt about that.
I can imagine. I'm sure. So Pastor Aaron probably gets a little too much honor and respect around here. So
No,
it's
a
good
little
every
bit.
now and
That's
then.
Well,
exactly
I
right.
mean,
Yeah.
he walks on clouds, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I mean, people think that, and it's true sometimes.
Yeah.
Not just kidding.
Oh my goodness.
If they think I walk on water, they absolutely believe that about
That's
Coach.
exactly right. That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
But we are honored that I know it's a busy time. I mean, I know coaching and D1 football is probably not a lot of not busy times, but we appreciate you making the time, being with us.
Absolutely.
It's an honor for you to jump on with us. And so I remember this is a fun connection that I have with you that you probably don't realize I have with you.
I get worried when people say that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. You never know what I'm going to say next.
Right.
But early on, I think let's see, when did you move to Greenville?
So it was December of 18, January
Okay.
of 19, right around there.
Wow, so you've been here a little while
5
now.
years.
Yeah, that's
Right
awesome.
before the pandemic. That's how everybody
Yeah.
judges
That's-
time now.
the-
Before the pandemic or
that's
after
right.
the pandemic?
But it was early on. You just, I think, moved here, something along those lines. And I was out to eat at a local establishment, Sup Dogs,
Yeah.
Greenville,
Dogs.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
You and your wife were eating, and you're right next, table right next to us, me and a couple of guys. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, they were ECU diehards, which I'm being honest, I'm not.
Were the kids with us?
No, it's just you and the wife.
Okay.
Just you and the wife.
There you
But
go. You're taking on the town.
Taking her
Taking
to
on
the
the town.
nicest places.
that's exactly
It
right.
was a date night.
But you were sitting right next to us, and the guys I was sitting with are ECU diehards, and so they were pumped, and I was like,
They were
pumped.
fangirling.
They were fangirling a little
Absolutely.
bit, but we saw you, we left, we said hey to you, y'all were real nice, but I thought I did honestly think it was cool. All joking aside, that it seemed like intentional that you were going to kind of get to know the town a little bit, and
Right.
I mean, there's no real other reason to go to Sup Dogs.
No, except
No,
for-
so ironically,
Hot dogs are
Brett, the owner, is a graduate of James Madison,
Really?
where
No
I was
way.
before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I
So
had
I mean,
no
as
idea.
soon as I moved to town, we made an immediate connection.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Is that something that, I mean, it seems like in your years here that has been an intentional thing to
Right.
be ingrained in the community. Is that
Yeah.
is that an intentional?
Absolutely. I mean, that's it's one of the reasons that we bought a home and a development that we felt like could be a lot of families and kids, and it's one of the reasons that I think it's important that our kids are in public schools here, and it's one of the reasons that we try to go and do some of the things around town. Is just, I think in my position it's very important, especially in Greenville, and I think every
Yep.
place is different.
Yeah.
But I think in Greenville, it's important for the football coach at East Carolina to really be connected to the community.
That's awesome.
And I thought that when I took the job, and so we've tried to be very intentional of being involved.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
In everything we can be.
That's really awesome, because one of the things I respect about you most is really all the joking aside, we're good friends, but you're one of the best leaders I know, and I mean that. And and it's really because of a lot of that mentality. From day one when you got here, you are Mike Houston. You're not Coach Mike. I mean, everybody calls you Coach.
Yeah.
But you are really who you are, and it's one of the things I respect about you most. So where did that get ingrained in you at? I mean, where is that mentality? Because that's so different from a lot of other things that I've experienced with other people.
Right.
It
It probably comes from my dad,
Really?
and just the way he raised me, and just I try to be an honest person, try to be very straight with people, and just try to be very authentic, I guess is the best way to put it. That's the way I want people to be with me. I am a people person, and I enjoy getting to know people, and I enjoy the relationships that I have, both, personal and professional. But I try very hard just to, kind of live by the golden rule,
That's awesome.
Do right and treat people the way you want to be treated. And trying to raise two boys like that. So
yeah, we know how that life is.
We'll see if I'm successful at that or not. But my dad was a good man, a very good man. He was a very strong Christian, and we didn't have a whole lot growing up.
Yeah,
but I had a mom and a dad that were there, and the other thing is, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, and grew up in a Southern Baptist church. So, you were there on Sunday morning and Sunday night and Wednesday night,
that's
that
right.
kind of
and
deal.
everywhere in between.
Yeah, but it was good. It was a great community. But I do think that me, who I am, comes from my parents and the small community that I was raised in.
That's awesome.
That's so good. I love what you said. That's an interesting take, because in your position, you mentioned the personal relationships and the professional relationships. Right. I would assume that probably gets a little blurred at times with your position, just being in a because in Greenville you're coach, you're everybody's coach. I mean, you're the guy. It's a football town, and there's no mistaking that. And so, how do you navigate being able to be a part of the community, but also not having such a drain to where it's like, man, I gotta take care of myself, take care of my family as well?
Well, I think, and it's, I have a phenomenal coach's wife.
Yeah.
You use that label, coach's wife. But, Amanda, when we met, I was a high school football coach.
Yeah.
So she has been with me from the very beginnings. Yeah. And so, she has grown, and our relationship has grown all through this, and we understand that there is a responsibility that comes with the position I have.
That's right.
Yeah, I do have to prioritize, family time. So, when we do go out to eat, we understand, that you're part of the community, and that's important. And so, we understand we're going to interact with a lot of people when we go out. But if it's something we need family time, then that's why I've kind of created my back porch and back area at the house there. We don't go out very much, but when we do go out, we want to be ingrained in the community.
Yeah,
that's good.
So good. Well, Amanda's an amazing mom. She's an amazing wife.
She runs the house now.
She runs the house,
No doubt.
But it's a team effort.
No
because,
doubt. Yeah.
As much as I respect you for being present with your sons, we've had the talks. It's hard. The job that you do is all encompassing all the time, especially now as some of the changes have happened.
Well, you just and it is very similar to being the pastor at a large church.
Yeah,
it
sure.
is. You are in front of the crowd, every Sunday.
Yeah.
And so the crowd, forms a personal attachment to you from that stage. And so when they see you out, they see that person that they feel very close to. But you have a family.
That's right.
And that family, they have to understand that this position carries that kind of responsibility. And, I talk to the boys all the time just about, they've got to understand that, they are not only representing themselves, they represent our family in their actions and their conduct. And fair or not, he's the coach's kid.
That's exactly right.
That's coach's wife.
Yeah.
They do get labeled a little bit, and which is, to a degree is unfair.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
But it is part of it. Me and you've had these conversations because, we found some similarity in that space. And we have to believe that if we're called to do this, and I think that any profession, feeling called to it, this is what you love to do, but you were born, there's an aspect of who you are that is a coach.
Right. And it's, I try to say, and I think that Amanda would say the same thing, that, there is a Mike Houston that is not Coach Houston.
That's right.
My identity is not my job.
No.
That's good.
But at the same time, it is such a huge part of every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the enjoyable things. We were out of town this weekend with AAU basketball, so that's a whole different topic.
Your boy's playing, loves it.
To a degree, we were in Washington D.C., so you can get removed to a degree.
A little bit.
But I'm telling you, everywhere we go, I had an official who officiated my games when I was at the Citadel.
Yeah.
That was at this basketball tournament. Hey, coach, just want to come over and say hi to you. So you can get away, but to a degree you can't, kind of deal. But
well, to speak to that, so, we had Pastor Brady here this weekend, one of our apostolic overseers, and he was like, man, is Coach going to be there? Because he kept up with you. And I was like, golly, that guy's in Colorado Springs. I said, Coach couldn't go anywhere, without being known. And I think, as that's happened in your life, I'm sure you're forever grateful. But me and you both know that carries a weight to it, and it is important to be able to withdraw from the crowd to people who really know you as coach, because it can become, or Mike, because you can become disconnected from reality.
You can. I think there's so many things you can spin off of that. I mean, I think one is I try to be very conscientious about public perceptions.
Yeah,
and I say that just. You understand that you're a role model.
That's right.
In so many different settings, and so I think you do have to be conscientious, but at the same time, you've also got to be a human.
That's exactly right.
And that's why I do appreciate our golf outings.
Yeah.
We got a little group that goes, and I appreciate our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has been the biggest blessing since we moved to Greenville.
Yeah.
And it's you have just great families. There are great kids, young men and women. I mean, they're growing.
They're figuring it out.
They're growing quickly.
That's right.
And we're all kind of going through things together. But you do have a group that you kind of you trust.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important too.
Yeah, and it's hard to find. I mean, the reality is like that's not something that you fall into. Anybody doesn't fall into those relationships by accident. You have to invest in them, and when you find them, you better invest in them,
right?
Because they're not easy to come by.
No, and it's one of those things we always, I think, as humans, to a degree, assume the best of everyone.
Yeah.
But there are people that aren't.
That's right.
Aren't for us. I mean, we figured that out the hard way. I think
That's
we all
good.
do. There are people that they don't want good things for you and your family, and I think that's what hurts you at times. But I'm just so grateful that we have that. I'm also thankful for Open Door, and I've told Aaron this. This is another place that's been a blessing to our family since we got to Greenville. So I just think we've been very fortunate. This has probably been the best move that we've had as far as our family.
Yeah.
And we've bumped around a little bit. So
just a little bit, but you found success everywhere. So that's gotta feel good that you keep on finding that success, but that's not by accident. So can you talk a little bit about, because really you are one of the best leaders. I know I watched you walk through the pandemic, which was a crazy.
I don't want to do that again.
No, nobody wants to do that again. But it is, true leadership is really forged in fire.
Right.
It is. It's not in the easy times. It's in the hard times.
Right.
And a new coach doesn't come to a program when everything's great. They come to a program when usually it's not been great.
Well,
that's right. And
then you have just everything with the social injustice during the pandemic.
Right, all that stuff.
You had all that at once.
Everybody was inflamed.
Right.
Everything.
That was a challenging time in our nation.
And I just saw you walk through it, and we had a lot of conversations during that time. But talk a little bit about leadership and how what's your mentality on navigating. I think you talked a lot about your upbringing, but there's some things that you bring now to this environment of what you do for a living that is uncommon, I would say, in the world that you live in. And so just talk through that a little bit about your thoughts about that, your mentality. You love young men. I mean, you've told me about that so often. So really, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think everything is grounded in relationships. And I think genuine relationships. And that's I think we all evolve in our professions. I think I've evolved as a leader. I think I've evolved as a football coach, but I think I've evolved probably more as a leader.
That's good.
And I think for me, it starts in genuine relationships with not just the young men in our program, but everyone in our program and around our program. And I think that when I say genuine relationships, is that you've got to establish a relationship of trust. And for me, that's the most important thing with our players. And and there's no easy way to do it. I mean, it's you got to work at it. I think you've got to be transparent at all times. Sometimes you try to, I don't want to, don't want to talk to him about this. It's going to be difficult. You have to.
Yeah.
They've got to trust you. You've got to trust them. I think it all starts right there.
That's good.
And then, the next piece for me is it's got to be grounded in being a servant. I think servant leadership is the key. I don't know how many games we're going to win this year.
Yeah.
What I do know is I know that my kids know that if they ever need anything, that they can call me, text me any time of the day. I had a situation this weekend that we had to work through with a young man, and he was having some issues in his personal life, and it was at the time it was very, very very important to him, and it was a tough situation he was in. Now we navigated it successfully, but they've got to know that they can trust you.
Yeah. That's so good.
This world is. You have a lot of kids in our program come from environments where they don't have trust.
That's right.
And
that's what's so crazy about what you're saying, and I absolutely agree. But so many of them are coming to you, and they've never been able to trust anything.
Anybody.
No.
And so they're coming into the program already with this thought process that they can't trust. So you're trying to build trust from square one.
Right.
Because it was interesting because our generation has more of a tendency, I think, to actually trust first. Like we're going to gift trust.
Right.
But a young person today growing up in the environments that you're talking about, that's totally outside even what they understand.
And it's you get burned sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, because you invest in a relationship and you pour into someone, and then all of a sudden, they kind of go the other direction on you. It hurts your feelings,
right?
But that's just part of it.
Yeah.
You can't worry about that, and you got to lay your head down at night knowing that you did everything you could to do right by that person.
Yeah.
But I think it's you talk about recruiting. I was on a phone call. As I walked in here with a
He's
young
always
man.
on the phone.
He might get a phone call in the middle of the podcast. We'll just have to pausing. Yeah.
That's right.
One of the first questions you have to ask is, "Tell me about home."
Yeah.
Who's in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got to figure, and it's hard. It's a hard question because you never want to. You have some that you have very few where both parents are in the home.
Yeah.
You have some where there are no parents in the home.
Yeah.
You have a lot where there's no dad.
Yeah.
A lot of single moms. You have some that come from some really, when I say broken, some really tough situations. So that's you got to figure out what home is like to try to start figuring out what kind of background this young man has. And that's one of the first things we do.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we joked about it a little bit, just my slip of the tongue earlier about you being pastor.
But
But
it's true.
the reality is you do walk in that role. Probably don't come out and say, hey, I want to pastor you through this.
I
but
should have
you're-
got a counseling degree.
That's
what I
right.
should have
That's
done.
well, and there's so much, and I don't know if people realize it. I'm sure some people do, some people don't. But in the position and the level that you're in, there's so many different hats that you have to wear other than just going out X's and O's coaching football.
Mm-hmm.
I would bet that probably 5% of what I do is X's and O's.
That's
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to, when you started out, that's all it was.
Right.
You give the pregame speech and you scheme and figure out how to get matchups.
Rally the
and,
troops.
Yeah, you figure out how to get my guy in a matchup with another guy and win that right there. I really enjoy that, but that's about 5% of
You
what
don't
I
do that
now.
anymore much.
Not
No,
much.
That's right.
So you have a staff, a coaching staff, and so I think that's another layer to the leadership that you would have to do is not only doing all the things you do with the student athletes and everybody that comes through, but then also you're gifting trust to your staff. You're giving them buy-in. How do you process that level of leadership as well?
So, it's staffs.
That's a whole nother.
So you got 125 kids, players.
Yeah.
We've probably got about 40. It's right. It's in the high 30s. Around 40 people that are directly under the umbrella of football at East Carolina University. I have 10 full-time on-the-field coaches. So you've got a lot of other support staff that do a lot of things behind the scenes. But the one thing I try to do, with any employee that we hire, and I did a Zoom at 10 a.m. this morning with somebody that's interviewing for an open position we have. As soon as I found out, kind of his background, I started texting people at the schools he'd been at.
Yeah.
Tell me about this guy.
Yeah.
Because to me, if, all these kids, they come from these homes, when they come to East Carolina or wherever I am, I'm responsible for those young men.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that's the most important to me is that position coach or that strength coach or whomever, that person in that position is someone that has the same core values that I have about how you treat people, how you invest in their lives, that you're responsible for them, that you're going to care for them. They've got the employees that I have. I try very hard to make sure that they have the same type of fabric that I believe in.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how you create the culture in the program, in the building. Culture. That's the catchphrase.
That's right.
Of
Everybody loves that word.
2023 right now. So,
That's right.
But that's, to me, that's the key to the staff, is just making sure you have people that believe in the same thing. They don't have to they don't have to be like you. You need diversity because you need different thoughts.
That's right.
I think that's, and collaboration. I try to encourage my staff that you're responsible to bring things to the staff meetings. Bring ideas to the staff about how we do things. So it's a collaborative effort, but you want to make sure that they're good people.
That's awesome. One of the things is, if you get around Coach and get the opportunity to meet his staff, some of those guys have been with you. Heck, you
A long
coached.
time.
You've coached some of them.
Some of them played for me. I've got 2 former players.
Yeah.
I got one that's been with me since 2005.
Yeah. Which is crazy in this world of coaching for that to take place. And it speaks to what he's speaking about relationship, is that, it's not just lip service. It's not something he's just saying. He really means it. And you see that in how he carries it. And I think it's a really rare quality. And for, I guess there's our coaches that do this transactionally with players, but the truth is his reputation is also out there. And parents know, and different recruits know, and different coaches know what kind of coach he is. And so when you do this as long as you've been doing it now, your reputation of being really relational really matters, because people want to come play for you and they want to come work with you.
Well, there are always going to be people that don't vibe with you.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's why I said you got to be able to lay your head down at night knowing that you did everything you could to do right by that that individual. But I think your reputation is important. That's I think it's why we've been able to attract quality coaches is they know that the working environment is going to be a positive. I think you've been in our building. It's I think most people walk around with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
We don't have a whole lot of grumpy people. Everybody enjoys the environment. There's time to work and there's time to enjoy each other, and we try to keep that balance there. And it gets stressful during the fall.
Yeah.
But I want a place where people don't they don't cringe when they walk in the door.
That's right.
I want a place where they feel the same way about our offices and our building as they do about their home.
That's good. Yeah. Everything intentional. That's a huge piece.
Trying
Being
to,
intentional.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. What thoughts do you have about kind of what you're seeing in young men right now, and what you're experiencing? What's like some of the concerns that you have about what you're seeing? Obviously you talked about not a whole lot of dads at home.
Yeah.
Are you feeling the need to fill that void? That's an incredibly difficult void to fill.
I think that, social media has had such an impact on society, and probably not for the good.
No.
I wouldn't say real active on social media. I'm on social media because of the position and recruiting and stuff like that. But I think that you get blurred perceptions of what reality is.
Oh yeah.
And I think that I think that really. I always talk to our players about just be careful about living in their phone.
That's good.
Because show me somebody that's had a bad day on Twitter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And that's not, it's not life.
It's not reality.
And then you have and we have a passionate fan base.
Yes, we do.
And we have
Yes, we
you know,
do.
and parents are passionate about their son.
Yeah.
And I talk to our guys a lot about you got to be able to filter out the noise.
That's good.
Because when things are going great, hey, when we're winning a bowl game and we went through it at James Madison,
Yeah.
we won 27 straight games, and it was I kept telling
That's
my
momentum.
wife and our boy, this is not reality now.
Yeah,
Just
right.
don't get sucked in, because when things are going really good, I mean you got to watch your ego now.
Yeah.
Because I mean everybody's now, when things start to go bad, they go the dead opposite
That's right.
end of the spectrum. So I worry about just the outside influences and what it does to kids mentally.
That's right.
Because it can take them to false senses of what they are, what what things are. For a positive, it can also take them to very dark
Yeah.
places. I mean,
Really dark.
Don't want to get real deep into it. Had a young man last year that went through a tough stretch. Didn't perform well on the field, and just some of the things that people said to him, and I was really, really concerned about him.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time talking to him, talking to his parents. Just
And he was a great kid. I mean,
he's a
great
phenomenal kid.
Yeah.
And I just it's just unfair. But I worry about social media and its influence on young people.
Yeah.
Well, and that's obviously magnified in that athletic realm where you're
Yeah.
at, because people have the voice. But that's really, I mean, that's everywhere.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that's
Oh, no doubt.
There's a warped sense of reality, especially within that age group. That's
Yeah, well, I mean,
hitting
I'm dealing with it with my son Wes right now. I mean, how much social media availability do I give him?
Yeah.
I was.
Let me know how you how you navigate
Well,
that.
it's
and
been really
restrict that.
interesting because I felt terrible for him the other day. So he's been on some restriction with his phone and stuff like that, which has been healthy. And and I was monitoring something, and we had given him his phone back, and you would have been amazed at how many of his friends were texting him saying, you need to get back on Snapchat. And I was like, and so I just talked to him in the car, because Snapchat right now is out of the equation. I think Snapchat is terrible for social media. But my point is like, I was amazed at how much peer pressure there is to
Yeah.
get on Snapchat, because that's the way
Right.
they communicate.
No doubt.
And I was like, man, so they're so connected to it that it's almost like if you don't get into it, then you're not going to have a social life.
That's
That's
right.
what it.
Right.
That's what their fear is. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't even use Snapchat, but when you look at social media and the effects that it's causing on our kids, and I told Wesley straight up, I was like, Wes, if I could do something for you, it'd be to never let you on social media at all,
Right.
because it's like a gravitational pull,
There's no doubt.
and
Yeah.
it's like there's no point in it,
That's right.
So
Oh, I see that with Owen so much.
Yeah.
I made the comment to him the other day. I was like, you know what? You're a lot more pleasant to be around when you
That's
don't
right.
have your phone.
that's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah,
Because it's just like it sucks them in.
it sucks them in,
Well,
and
the
it's
identity,
not good.
The
Yeah.
identity gets wrapped up in it too.
Well, I mean, I would say if we're dealing with that as adults, which we are. I mean, I'm talking
Right.
about like we fight that as adults, and we've not had to deal with it all of our lives.
That's right.
So
Right.
now you've got kids growing up in it, and we wonder why they have anxiety.
That's right.
And it's a real battle. And I mean, I talk to parents all the time. I'm in it with my 14-year-old. And how do you navigate it? And really, you just got to get in it. You got to constantly be in it. But when you're dealing with college kids, and you're dealing with guys who already have father wounds, is what I would call them, in their heart, and
Right.
they're looking for that affirmation, and then you have perform. And most of these guys that are coming to your program, so many of them, they found their identity in their performance.
That's right.
Oh, no doubt.
So if they perform well, then they get affirmation. Well, this is what's giving me affirmation, so this is what I
Right.
want to go to. And they don't know how to deal with then when they don't perform well at this level, that all hell breaks loose.
That's right.
And people are crazy and then call them all types of things. So it can really mess with them, because so for Wesley and Owen, they got a daddy in their life who gives them affirmation and also busts their butt when they need it and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you were a kid and you didn't have that,
Yeah.
and then this is where you get your affirmation from, it can become a real like shaker in your life when it goes the other way.
Right. And I think also, all of these young men, and we all deal with it. They were the very best where they were.
That's right.
And now all of a sudden they're all in the same room.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No.
And I'll tell you, parents struggle with that too. And
Yeah.
listen, I got to caution myself with Owen.
Yeah.
Because as parents, we love our children so much.
Oh, yeah.
And we want the very best for them. And
Yeah.
we just want to see them be successful, see them be happy,
Yeah.
see them, living an enriching, fulfilling life. And then you put all these kids in this situation now where, why is my son not playing?
That's right.
That's right.
Why?
You don't get any.
It's the coach's
You've
fault.
never had a conversation with a parent, have you? Never.
It's always your fault, Coach.
I'll tell you, I respect one kid. I had a conversation, a little meeting with a young man and his mom and dad. There was a mom and dad, and they're really good people.
Which is awesome.
And mom, I just don't feel like he's getting a chance. And I turned around and looked at the kid. I was like, I'm going to let you address this. To the kid's credit, he said, Mom, they're better than I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I thought was very mature
That's
of that
huge.
young man.
Yeah. Well, now you live in a world, too, with all the new things in college football
Yeah.
that kids, there is no loyalty to programs anymore. And so it's kind of, it feels like we've put the kid and their parents in the driver's seat. And I'm sure some of that's not terrible on one level, but for you, for you to maintain integrity and be who you really feel like you're supposed to be, it's challenging because it's easier now to just play friends with everybody.
Right.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, but you know what? The transfer portal and name and image likeness and paying athletes. There's so many things out there
that go into it.
And so many people have a hard time with, you know what? I say this right now. The group of young men we have in the program right now, unbelievable.
Yep.
And I just, if they didn't want to be a part of this, then they need to go somewhere else.
That's right.
I think that's important for them.
That's right.
I want kids that want to be where we are, want to do things the way we do them. We are not going. Nobody's going to get rich at East Carolina University. Student athlete playing football.
Right.
But I do think it's important that that we can help them.
That's good.
And the rules do allow that. But when it comes to the transfer stuff, if they don't want to be here with us, then I will help them find somewhere else.
See, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
Because that's a take on that I've not heard a whole lot publicly from other places.
That's right.
But that's amazing because you're right. If you want to be here, then be here. And if you want to, and that does something for your culture in of itself that you didn't really have the ability to do before because kids really felt like they had to be there at times because of what they were doing.
And really, we have a leadership council in our program. It's a group of young men that, and to be honest, I've had the kids that were in that council tell me who needs to be in that room because I said, you know what, when every player, when they're in front of me, they're going to show me who they want to show me.
Yeah.
I said, you guys know what's really behind that locker room door.
Gosh.
And so, because I want kids in that room that have the pulse of my team.
Yeah.
But they feel like that because we had a couple that went in the transfer portal back in the winter, and they approached me about coming back, and so I presented that to our leadership council, and they're like, Coach, no,
that's awesome.
We want people that want to be here.
That's so good.
And it's very important to us.
Gosh.
And so I think now at least we have the locker room where it's that leadership, from a standpoint of, they are the ones leading each other now. And I think that's an important part of a college football program.
That's awesome.
Well, it seems so important because it's college football, college athletics. It's cyclical. I mean, you get 4 to 5 years with these students, and so what you need is student athletes that are going to catch the culture, grab the vision, but then replicate that to the younger guys on the team. Yeah,
and the whole thing with the program, though, to me, and it's that balance, because it's in our profession is win-win-win. Let's don't forget that. I mean, if you don't win-win-win, then you're not going to be here. I understand that. But to me, I try to keep the importance on, you're developing the young men that will be the leaders of our country. When I'm in a rest home one day, it's and they will be fathers.
Yeah.
And some of them are fathers.
Yeah.
And so we talk a lot about, how to be a young man of character. And it's the number one when they walk in our team room every day. We got our core values on the wall, so you see it every day when you walk in. The very top one is we're going to be men of high character, and we try to be. Now none of us are perfect,
That's
so
right.
we're going to make mistakes. But I think that's so important that you keep the focus on developing young men.
That's awesome.
That's so good.
Well, what place, just taking a little side note or going to a different direction, talk a little bit about your faith, how you came to Christ, and how, because that's been a huge part of really what I've known about you for as long as I've known you, the last 5-6 years. And so talk a little bit about how does that take such root in your life, because it's not something you find common today in this world.
Well, it's again, it goes back to the home I was raised in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and now let's also clarify this: you can go to church, that doesn't make you a Christian.
Yeah, for sure.
Just
That's exactly
just
right. Amen. That's a good amen right
good
there.
amen
Good
right
amen
there.
by
We
Coach
got
Houston.
one.
There it is.
So I think you had that environment when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And if you ask me when I accepted Christ, I would say that was when I was 8 years old. Now, did I completely understand it then? Probably not.
No.
I really go to my roots, go back to when I was in college.
Yeah.
And my freshman year, the spring of my freshman year.
Yeah.
So we're starting spring practice, and you've been through that first season. So now you're trying to, I'm going to establish myself, and so I hurt my knee the third practice of the spring.
Oh.
And all of a sudden I'm out. I had things in my personal life. You're still adjusting to. You're not at home with mom and dad anymore. Yeah. You're off. You're in this college environment. My identity had been as an athlete, and now all of a sudden, your knee's messed up and you're on crutches and you're over there by yourself. And I'm just telling you, when athletes, when they go through the injury stuff, the biggest thing I worried about it with Rajay, when he hurt his knee last year, is the mental piece.
Yeah.
That's because you get so detached from everybody else. And I really went through kind of a little bit of a dark time, and I went to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes huddle. I hadn't been attending that, and I had another student athlete invite me, and I went there one night, and just something spoke to me, and just started right then just evaluating things in my life. I had a position coach that was a strong Christian, and he and I started having some talks, and I rededicated my life my freshman year in college. And that's probably truly my salvation point, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, and you go through things, as you develop, but I've always tried to, keep my foundation in that I understand, who blesses me. I understand where I'm going when my time on this earth is done, and I understand how that's going to happen. And, so I try to be a Christian coach. I am very transparent with recruits. I've got the FCA Bible from that that huddle my freshman year.
That's cool.
It sits on the corner of my desk, and I carried it with it all throughout. Carried it with me all throughout college. I've got all kind of notes in there and stuff. I use it when I'm speaking. But I tell recruits, now listen, this is I understand separation of church and state and all that, but I am going to share my faith with you.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to run the program based on my Christian values. And so I don't know. That's awesome. You start talking about somebody's walk in faith. There's a lot more depth to it than what I'm mentioning. But that's basically
that's so good.
Well, and I think it's evident in really what you've been talking about this whole time is the leadership that you're doing. And I mean, you talk about servant leadership. I mean, that's
awesome.
That's Jesus. That's your faith coming out, and then men of character, all of those things.
And if you get a chance to get around the program, I mean, he has a staff that are specifically there to offer Bible studies to the kids. I mean, there's an investment that Coach is making into making that available for his kids. And I've had a chance to be around the program, and just the quality of young man that he's raising. They're not perfect. They still make mistakes, but at the end of the day, there's an availability for those guys to get something in that program that there's not. I mean, some of them are getting exposed to that, and they've never had opportunity before.
Well, now they keep me in check too.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
they ain't scared to call you out.
No, they'll call me out too, so, which is good. It's good. I try to tell them. So listen, I'm never going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Don't ever lie to me. That's one of the first things I tell them. And so, yeah, they're honest with me.
Yeah.
So
that's so good, man.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
What? So we're in the draft season.
Yeah.
So what's we got a couple of guys that are going in and looking to make that next step. What's your role in that process at all? When you're pouring into to the guys for a while, and then they go on and continue their life.
Well, fortunately, we have that issue right now.
That's right.
We had a guy declare for the draft early this year, and we have several guys that have those opportunities. So it's I think it's healthy for the program to be at that point. But you're involved constantly. It starts pretty early on. Of course, every kid in my locker room, I promise you, their dream is to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you got to help them navigate that too, because
and the disappointment and the reality.
I mean, the reality is, you've got 125. There might be 5 that will. But the scouts, we have every NFL team comes through, and we give them, open access with our program. So they watch practice, they watch tape. I talk to them when they're there. I've assisted guys in, finding an agent. I think that's a very important piece, because I tell them you got to find somebody you can trust.
Right. That's right. Because
that agent is really going to have a lot of influence, not only on where you go, but on how you do things. And we assist with preparing them. Next steps. We have the NFLPA comes in and does a little deal with our kids in the summer where they'll educate them just on, this is things you got to prepare for. Because it's not. Everybody sees draft day, and everybody sees you signing a contract.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah,
Jaquan McMillan has been, he's with the Denver Broncos now, and so excited for him. Just signed a 3-year contract extension.
That's huge.
But listening to him, he said the toughest thing was how different the locker room is at that level versus at our level. It's professional.
Yeah.
And those guys have families, and this is a business to them.
Yeah.
And it's so there's so much, but we're heavily involved. Now I'm never going to tell them they need to declare, they don't need to declare.
Right.
I used to do that when I was young, try to convince them that you're not ready yet. But I try to put them in touch with people in scouting, in front offices and stuff like that, and let them advise them. And then when you make your decision with your family, I'll support whatever you do.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah, really putting the ball in their court.
But excited, yeah. I think Keaton. Who knows? I think he'll probably be, 5th round or so.
Yeah. Dude's quick.
Holton. I'm telling you, somebody's going to give him a chance. That's why I keep telling him.
I agree.
And whoever it is, he'll make the most of it.
Yeah.
And whether he gets drafted or not, I don't know. But I told him, I said, if you don't get drafted, don't worry. You will get a phone call within 30 seconds of the draft being over.
That's right.
And you just want to end up in the right place for you.
Well, he's you can tell. I mean, the amount of work that he has put in,
unbelievable.
Yeah, and the character that he has. I mean, that he's going to get a shot. And somebody's going to be very happy they gave him one.
Well, he's so dedicated. You're right. I mean, he's so dedicated in so many ways. I respect that so much. But he's such a smart player, and he's such a great teammate. He will be an asset wherever he goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff.
Man, that's so awesome. I love hearing. I love hearing. I think so oftentimes. I mean, I'm a college football fan. There's so many college football fans out there that seeing this side of the human behind the headset. And
the guy who's yelling at referees on Saturday.
That's
this
right.
is the real coach, Mike.
It's but I love too. It's the cool part about you and hearing some of this stuff and seeing this side is that you're way more interested in just winning football games,
right?
And that's like you said, that's a big part of it. But there's a whole lot more to to college athletics than that. I mean, you're helping
doubt.
raise young men, and that's awesome and part of the community. And so we just say thank you for what you mean, obviously for being on here today, but also to the Eastern North Carolina community. You mean a lot.
I am truly blessed. I mean, I when I was young, I never could have envisioned having all the blessings in my life that I have, and I just our family, we're so excited and grateful to be here in Greenville, and grateful for great friendships and the people around us. But we are very, very blessed as a family.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, thanks for being my friend. I appreciate you, and I'll kick your butt on the golf course.
Well, that's right. I just hope our playing partner gets you by 1 on Thursday. Okay.
Never had somebody root so hard against me in my life.
Well, I can't beat you, so I got.
He don't want to get you on the football field. You notice that?
But in the gym, I mean, during the pandemic, he might have big guns, but he knows.
Easy. Honesty is important for a pastor.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's right. This is my world. I get to create. No, I appreciate you coming on.
No, that's awesome.
Grateful
Thank
for
you.
your
Appreciate you guys
friendship.
having me.
That's right. And good amen and go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
First down.
That's it.